Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge and the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the players. This is my DFS preview and best bet show. First and foremost, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you greatly. And we've got a lot to cover. I am going to go through, as the usual, course breakdown, give you all my models and analysis, stroke gain rankings. Of course, we'll do a recap of what we just saw at the Arnold Palmer. And at the end, I'm going to give you my best bets, including my long shot. And with that said, we got a lot to cover. Let's do this. Let's talk some golf. First, I want to remind you, I do have a giveaway going on as we speak for the players. I started this last week. And what is it, you ask? I am giving away 5 random winners, $100. And all you simply need to do to get into the contest is click that like button. Of course, share it if you'd like with anybody, but at least click the like button. And if you've not subscribed, I need you to subscribe because I need you to tell me in the below YouTube comments, who do you like that's going to win the players? And I'll do that real quick again. To get into the drawing, click the like button. If you're not a subscriber, I need you to subscribe and tell me who do you think is going to win the players. Then that will get you into the drawing. What I do is take all the people as entered, put you in a random generator. It's going to spit out 5 winners. I will announce that on my Wednesday show, the Before the Lock show, and then just get your PayPal address and get you over the funds. And again, with that Millie Maker that we have out there, $25 entry, get you 4 entries, and hopefully you can turn this $100 into a few more zeros at the end into $1 million. So best of luck to all you, and so far, thank you for everybody that's already entered. All right, okay, let's have a quick recap of what was going on in golf this last weekend. Of course, the Arnold Palmer we're going to talk a bit about. Also got just some quick tidbits that we'll talk about that happened on the Corn Ferry and also the DP World Tour, just to keep you up on that. But yeah, real quick, my summation for the Arnold Palmer, I tweeted out quite a few things about this. In short, I didn't enjoy it. I think the course was way too far gone. They knew the weather that they've had. They knew what weather was coming. This whole thing that Arnie always wanted a U.S. Open, like, just stop it. Like, that's the only thing they were saying to try to save what we were actually watching. And I think everybody, the players, if it wasn't for Arnie, it's being his tournament, the players would have just ripped that course left and right in their pressers. And you would have heard a lot more negativity than you already heard. I think the guys were very guarded with the words that they spoke. But they, purely came off. You had guys like Scheffler saying, I just couldn't wait to get off that course. I'm mentally drained. You had Rory, just again stating that, come out, shoot a 65, and then you just know going into the weekend that it's going to get tougher. But guys that were hitting good shots were being penalized, that you were not being rewarded for good play. And the reason why we watch PGA golf is not to watch car crashes, not to watch these guys just look like your average player, which, again, any of us that play the game would have shot 150. I mean, all I can think of was Arnold Palmer in his best of day. If you'd have put him on that track under those conditions, I would have liked to see he would have shot in the 90s. That is literally my personal opinion. I mean, you could pretty much take anyone that played back in the 60s and 70s, play at that length under those conditions, and I would like to see him break 8. I mean, you had only 4 guys break par on Sunday. And I think he had like 12 shooting the 80s. Like, it was just ridiculous. And like I said, I think from a betting perspective, from a DFS perspective, that's more of our concerns. I think it probably hurt live betting. I think, yes, there was probably some betting earlier on. But how are you going to, just flip quarters? Like, you have no idea who's going to double bogey the next hole, because it could be anyone, no matter how good they are, no matter how great they're playing. It was all the luck of the bounce. So I'm not going to sit here on this rant. I am a bit on a soapbox. It was a bit frustrating. I did not enjoy it. I'll leave it on a summation of the number 1 player in the world could not break 70 once out of 4 rounds. And literally leading the field pretty much almost off the tee and on approach. Just watching guys 3-4 putt from like 3 feet, just craziest things. I mean, when you've got no grass whatsoever, no friction on the greens, and it's windy like that, alone everything else you got going on, there's no way to play that. And if you've played the game of golf and you've ever played a course that had crazy, crazy firm greens, like rocks, especially if it's a new course, and you hit some amazing shots and watch it just bounce and hit like 5 feet in the air and fly off, you're never going back to that course. And on that note, I'll be curious how many guys decide to play this next year if this is the way they're going to set up the course. Like, who wants to have that mental thoughts of, wow, I just shot 80 like back to back, and now I got to go in the players. I don't care who you are. Nobody wants that. So I hope they get that together. I hope they understand that, you could have watered the greens a bit. You didn't have to double roll them, double cut them every morning. At least make the greens somewhat receivable. That's all you need to do. Have the 6-inch rough. I don't care. You got the wind. I just feel like whoever set this course for the PGA side or whatever, there was, so much talk about the low scores all year because of how good the weather was, and they just weren't going to allow that to happen at Bay Hill, I guess. So, all right, that was way too long, but I've gotten that out of my system. I would love to hear your guys' feedback in the YouTube comments below. Tell me, did you enjoy that? Would you prefer to watch that? Okay, with that said, I did put a bet on Scotty Scheffler. I did it on Saturday when he started a trend on the back, when he started to do well on the back, because what all I thought was, okay, I don't care who's above. I knew that they could come back to the field, but I knew it was going to be windy. And if in Scotty, of course, being in Texas, there's other guys that play well in the wind. I just felt like, hey, I'm gonna put a bet on Scotty. I put other bets too, a couple other live bets that I think I won on Gooch on Saturday. Like any of the guys that I liked that their odds went up, I put a couple out there. But long story short, I hit Scotty on betting him on Saturday, and all it did was just cover what I had out on a betting perspective. So from a DFS perspective, we'll talk. I actually really liked my picks. Actually did very well for us, so good on that. All right, let's go on a positive note. Puerto Rico Open. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Ryan Brim, he actually played at Michigan State, grew up in Mount Pleasant, so like where Brian Stewart from. He was on his last event under his medical exemption or medical status, whatever, and won it, and now has got his full status back on the PGA Tour. So that's crazy. His wife was on the bag. Crazy wins there. I don't know if you guys got to watch any of it, but on Sunday it was crazy wins, and the guy still shot, I think, like 20 under, like led the field by 5 or 6. I told you guys I had some crazy parlays going. I had a Robson Chinoy on the Kenya, and I was hoping for like RBC or Warinsky or whoever. They were doing good at times, but yeah, all that blew up. And on that note, Ashun Wu, he won the Magical Kenya Open, which only thing I could tell you about this is I think he's actually the first Chinese player to win on the DP World Tour. Don't quote me on that, but I think I saw that somewhere. So good on him. So none of those crazy parlays came. Of course, I was heavy on Will Z, and I told you guys this. When anybody's, within the whole industry and media is all over a guy. And again, Will Z played great. His first day shot 4 under. And then, I saw some of you guys hit me up on YouTube comments, like when we sat and watch him again, three whack it from, 3 feet. You saw, I tweeted out where Rom, and that was just an accident, but, from 10 inches, literally stubbed his putter. The ball rolled like a couple inches. So literally 2 putted from 10 inches. So it was just a lot of crazy stuff. Matt Jones chucked his putter. He lost his stuff. You had Rory Sabatini, just say, screw this, WT. But now I'm actually going to stick and walk the whole course, the rest of the course, and rake traps. And I can't even think who his playing companion was. But I feel bad for anybody that had Rory Sabatini, because you're like, hey, look, I got 6 to 6. I got Rory, at least I'm going to get some points. And then just really plays, I don't know, it was 8 holes or something like that in WD. So there's just a bunch of crazy stuff going on. I guess my biggest concern is how many guys will come back. My last note on, well, let's go look at some stroke gain information, and then I'll hit up on a few more points, and then we'll get on to talk about the players. Okay, so I'm jumping over to Fantasy National real quick, and I just wanted to pull up some stroke gain data. You're going to see Rory up here. I guess because he WD'd, he's up here. I can't get him below. I don't know why. But of course, as we already know, Scotty won. What I thought was most interesting, it was also very telling about how hard that track played, was that Scotty Scheffler gained 8 strokes on the field with his irons on his approach, and only hit 60% of the greens. That is mind-blowing. That shows you again, how crazy it was to try to, guys were hitting greens left and right. They just weren't staying on. So just kind of mind-blowing. Terrell Hatton, kudos to him. He had a great comeback on Sunday. So he likes that course. I think it's something to definitely keep an eye on. If he plays there again, of course, he's past winner. Even with his temperament, I can't believe he didn't explode and snap every club in his bag. Especially, I think it was on Saturday where he kind of struggled. Of course, Billy Ho is one of my picks, and looked really good there. I mean, he was probably had the best opportunity, if I remember right. He had the last putt to birdie to get into a playoff. Also, I mean, Victor Hovland, right? He was also one of my picks. I couldn't believe he had a putt to go 5 under and cause a playoff and left it like 3 feet short. Like, you've got all the money in the world. Second means nothing to you. How do you leave? No matter what, you got to be 5 feet by that hole. Like, that was probably one of the most mind blowing things I saw was Victor Hovland coming up 3 feet short to force a playoff. Um, let's real quick. Let's just go through who did the best. I think that's always a good thing. So off the tee, KH Lee actually led the field. So just side note, I mentioned John Rahm was way up there, like number. Then on approach, you had of course Scotty. I already mentioned John Rahm was second. Again, never broke 70. Around the green was led by Todd and Lucas Herbert, who actually I had in Showdown Finale and saved my bacon. I just kind of felt like all I really went with was that he was down there going out early and how well he did at Bermuda when he won it and played in the wind, and that was it. And then I'm like, I'm playing this guy. I didn't play a ton of Showdown Finale because I'm just not a huge fan of it. I just think it takes the skill out of it with the whole placement thing. But yeah, he kind of saved my Sunday from a DFS perspective. All right, let's go back real quick because I just want to talk about. So I'm giving myself an A minus on my picks. I hit so out of my total 20 picks, my top 15 plus my 7K and below guys, I missed two guys. So 18 of 20 made it through. I believe it was Higo and Sahith Thagala that I missed on. But the rest of the guys, if you're curious, I had Billy Ho, Victor Hovland, we had Chris Kirk, we had the Gooch, who, man, I put a bet on him Sunday early before, of course, he 3-whacked it from 3 feet, thinking he was the guy that was going to end up pulling this out. And that did not work out. It was a little, that stung. If it would have hit, it'd been like 5K. So we'll just leave that alone. But again, thank you, Shuffler, for bailing me out. Keegan Bradley, Corey Connors, Cameron Young had a good Sunday. Rory, what can you say? Rory on weekends there just is not working out. Max Homa, who had the hole in one, I think the one again tweeted that out, one of the bright spots or something that was, I don't know, fun that actually made you laugh and enjoy the tournament. So that was good. Hideki was also my top 5. And this was also very interesting. Guys that literally shot even or like 1 under moved up like 30 spots on Sunday. Like, it was crazy. So Hideki, I believe, shot 2 under that day. I think he was one of the better rounds. Actually moved up big time. So whoever had him in one and done, you probably enjoyed that. Sebastian Munoz got you to the weekend. Was whatever. Patrick Rogers, again, these were my guys below 7K, got you to the weekend. Will Z was, like I said, was my top 5 pick. I think that was just shocking, especially when he came out with that 400. I mean, and the guy that double top, you're out there, who hit me up on YouTube comments and mentioned, like, dude, did you just see what happened? And I'm like, it's amazing. If you watch Will Z a lot, like watch him on PGA Live, the guy is a machine, tee to green. And if he ever puts putting together, which of course he has, like I tweeted, like when he shot that 61, like he does it. And I just said, like, literally, this guy could shoot 10 under every time he plays if he could just make putts. Like, if he could make everything 10 feet in, it'd be ridiculous what that guy would shoot. So it's going to happen. He's going to get his win. It might be the players. Like, literally, I think it's not a bad bet. When everybody's getting off him, I think it's a good time to get on him because at this course, you do not need to putt as well. And it's not going to be ridiculous. The greens are going to be fast, but they're not going to be tabletops. All right, real quick. Lanto, he made it through for you. Cam Champ, I think he was at 4 under his first day, 3 or 4 under. And one of you guys asked me, like, Cam Champ hits as far as Bryson? Yes. Yes, he actually, if he swung as hard as Bryson, he would hit it way by. But on average, it hits like, just like Finau. If Finau wanted to get more swing speed, he could easily hit it 350 every time. So yes, note to self, Cameron Champ hits the ball off the tee a shit far away. Killer Keith, he struggled, fell back, ended up shooting 10 over. That was interesting because he was super chalk. Paul Casey, wow. I think he shot a couple under the first day and then just blew up on Saturday and Sunday. Troy Merritt, I think it was your highest. I think he shot at 87 on Sunday, which again, I mean, it's just ridiculous. Ches Reavie was your big winner at 19 over. So again, that's enough. I am over with the Arnold Palmer. And that's probably enough information. You guys are probably over it too. All right, let's go talk about the players. All right, we're on our third event of the Florida Swing, going to Ponte Verde Beach, Florida. Staying in Florida, and then we still got what, Valspar, and then I think that's the wrap, and we head over to Texas for the match play. Of course, we're at the famous TPC Sawgrass designed by Pete Dye, the stadium course. The course that really kind of set the precedence for all these other courses like Waste Management and the Honda to do this. You know, they designed the course, right, to have hills around the green so people could see and view. And then, of course, people started building grandstands, and then away again. But that's why it is called the stadium course. Opened back, I believe, in 1980, but it started hosting this tournament in 82. And it is a par 72, 7,256 yards, so a little over 7,200 yards. And yes, we're still talking Bermuda. Fairways are Bermuda. It's actually Champion, but it doesn't matter. It's Bermuda. I did put overseeded Bermuda for the rough. What does overseeded mean? It means that they wanted that grass to get really thick and hard to get out of. So note to self on that. You're not going to want to be in this rough. Again, the fact sheets told me last week at the Arnold Palmer at Bay Hill that it was 3-inch rough. So, you know, who knows? Like they talked about they topped it off at 4 inches, which probably grew to 6. So it might have higher rough here. But right now, what I'm getting from the actual superintendents is it's at 2.5 inches. And then we are back on Tiff Eagle Bermuda. And we've got quite a few courses. Of course, the PGA National we just saw, and I've got a few courses that where these guys put on Tiff Eagle. Your player feels a little bigger. We got 24 more players than we did at Arnold Palmer's. What does that mean? We're going to have a little less chance of getting someone through. So we have 144 total, typical T65 in ties, depending on how it works out, but it's a good setting point. Historical cut line here for over the last few years has been anywhere from even to +1. It could be -1. It could be +2. It's all dependent, of course, weather and what happens. And then some past winning scores. We'll go into these guys more, of course, deeper. But you had Justin Thomas, who shot 14 under and won last year. In 2020, actually, the event, of course, you remember, was canceled after the first day, round 1. I just like to put this note there so people remember that Hideki Matsuyama came out and shot 9 under that day. I believe I actually had a big bet on Harris English. This was before Harris English was doing Harris English things. And he was 7 under. And he was like 100. It was crazy odds. And I was so disappointed that did not get to finish for that reason. But yeah, McElroy, who won in 2019 at 16 under, then Webb. Simpson, who won in 2018 at 18 under. Average green size here, I think, it's so funny. I hear mix on this, but 5,500 square feet, I've always heard is the average size of the PGA greens, but I've also heard that that's on the smaller side. So what we're going to go with is they're a little smaller than average. Number of sand bunkers, 88. So you got a ton of sand. I think there was 84 at, just to give you some reference, at the API at Bay Hill. You got 17 holes where water comes into play here. You're going to, again, if you've not seen this course, I'll give you a little overview, but yeah, there's water everywhere, just like we just saw. And the greens are going to be typically fast to lightning in past conditions. What does that mean? Like a 12 or 13 on the step meter, if you understand what that means. Either way, they're going to be slick. And they are slopey. There's a bit more undulation on these greens than we saw at Bay Hill. Course defense, I've been talking about this since the Honda. You got the deadly combo of water and wind at any time. People can blow up holes. All I think about is on 17th when Kevin Na last year hit actually a really good shot. The ball just landed, I think, either in front of the pin and it just like 2 hops, couldn't get the spin in, and then away he went. I think he shot a 9 after he chipped in too, after he got to take a drop on the green. And he quit. He WD'd right after, I believe, either after that round or after that hole. And if I remember right, Ben On was in it last year, and I think he shot like a 17, something ridiculous on that hole. And he played the next day, so good for him. That is something we got to watch out for, especially with Kevin Na. Anyways, fairways, as always, are at a premium. And again, I think because the rough is overseeded and, if it's a 2.5, they can manage that no problem. If it gets over 3.5, it's going to be, you're going to get, it's going to be rough hitting the greens out of the rough. It's real simple here. I mean, it is all about the approach game. You just go over and over as the guys with the irons. Yeah, around the green definitely shows up too, but you just need guys. You don't need bombers here. You need guys just hit fairways deadly with their irons, and they've got a great chance of winning. Par threes is what typically separates. So like Adam Scott's got a great history here. Just watch how well he does on the par threes. he's always good on long par threes, and that's what I've noticed is the big differentiator of guys that do well and the guys that either miss the cut. It's just they don't do well in the par threes. Pass notes, of course. If you know this course, you got the island hole on 17, and then 18. Some of the guys say is the hardest driving hole on the course. It's not 17; it's actually 18 because you can't go left, you're in the water, and if you go right, you're either in the rough or in the sand, and you're not reaching the green. So typically, it comes down to those two last holes that are going to determine who wins this. Not too far off what we saw at Bay Hill. Then these are just my notes from last year, so some of this is kind of random, but I put it in there for a reason, so I'll share it with you guys. So funny enough, Sergio Garcia is 132 under on par 5. So Sergio, of course, is a past winner here. I think it was a while ago, but I don't know, it's 2008. It doesn't matter. But he does well here. So if you're thinking from a showdown perspective, a bet, it's not too shocking to throw Sergio in. Of course, he's got to make putts. Guess he's number one in scoring since 2002, so he shoots the lowest round since 2000. And then I just, Valderrama, TPC, he just came out and stayed with his favorite two courses. He loves this course. That's a big thing. I mean, when you're confident and you're like, this is the course I kick butt at, you're going to typically do well. There I mentioned the greens are smaller than average, which, I do believe minimizes where guys don't have to putt as well that weekend. And we'll look at that from a stroke gain analysis. You'll see some evidence of that. Funny enough, I must have had a bad go of it from DFS perspective last year, and I'm sure you hear a lot. It's so hard. So many guys. I mean, Justin Thomas could easily miss the cut this year just as much to make it. I mean, there's the volatility when you start looking at guys' past history at this course. It happens, but it's rare that guys will go 6 years in a row and not miss a cut here, no matter who they are. So I think the DFS perspective is tough. I just put down that I think outright bets is the way to go. If you're literally looking at it from just, I want to make some money, but have some action, you might want to just do outright bets and skip DFS. But that's kind of hard, right? When they dangle that milli maker out there for the first time this year. So I'll be in DFS, and I'm sure you guys will too. I also noted that, again, as I already mentioned, it's kind of like this is a Pete Dye course. And if you know Pete Dye courses, he likes to challenge you visually and kind of spook you a little bit to be like, or trick you a little bit off your tee lines and your eyesight, where it looks like you don't have any area, or maybe you have more area to land the ball and you do. Like, so if you always think of Harbor Town, where they play the RBC Heritage, I think is one of the best examples, and also comparable courses. We'll talk about that. So really, you need guys that are very, accurate but not long off the tee, that can think their way through a course and are just deadly with irons. And I'll tell you right now, you saw the guy on my cover screen. I already put a large bet on Morikawa, and he's my guy. If we haven't seen him in a little while, which I think is a good thing that he did not play at the API. I'm literally a little leery to play some of the guys because I literally think they're just mental disasters. Like I think those guys literally just went and played the U.S. Open and just got wrecked. I mean, we'll see how they come off that. It's going to be a very interesting study of looking at the top guys that just played at Bay Hill versus the top guys that did not, and see how this all shakes out. But that might be my narrative, me personally, how I go through my DFS selections. But Morikawa is my guy. If I had to pick a winner, he's it. Already got a bet in on him. It was 16-1. I don't know if it's going to get any worse or better, but I made it last night. Just a side note, Chris Kirk really likes this course, and also he's a local as far as I know. Russell Knox also really likes this course. We're going to talk a little more about him, and also as a local. Billy Horschel lives right by. I'm sure you heard a billion times that he really wanted to win the API because he's never won in Florida. So, hey, I'm sure he really wants to win the Players. An interesting note from what I had previous was that 11 out of the 13 early, so it would be AM, PM starts, have won the Players. So there you go. So I guess if you're building, from a betting perspective, when it comes out and you want to look at the tee times, that might be a way to go. I don't know. Like I said, I think it's kind of random, but it is a weird that, 11 out of the last 13, whoever the early tee time versus, and then the afternoon on Friday, won it. Garcia's got 25 rounds in the 60s, and Adam Scott has 23. Okay, I'm sure you've seen this course, but if you've not, and I always state, go check it out on Round Highlights on YouTube. Just type in Round 1 highlights of the Players 2021. But you can see, ton of water. There's 17, the Island Green, tee box here. Every hole pretty much except 1 and 2 have water running alongside it. Um, so it's coming into play on every, and of course, sand or water. The fairways, I feel like, are pretty, I don't say generous, but I don't think they're terribly hard to hit. Of course, it's going to come down to wind. It's more about the smaller greens, the slopey greens, guys that can stick the iron shots closer. You're gonna have more opportunities, and that's hence again why Morikawa is my guy. Of course, JT showed it last year. That and it's also the guys that have the 150 and below. So the guys that hit their sand wedges and pitching wedges dialed in are the guys that typically do very well here. Just another view to illustrate. I don't know what hole this is off the top of my head, but just gives you another illustration. Water all over here, sand, bunkers, water. You can see the undulation on the greens. Here's a little better view. Again, it gives you an understanding. Of course, again, here is the island, and it's funny. There is guys. It has happened where someone's hit a tee shot and landed on this. They should have a little rowboat, so you could still play it, and not have to take the drop. And of course, your drop area, I believe, is right here. And I don't think that's a whole lot easier, right? I mean, I've seen guys hit the ball and actually rolled down this ramp, and they played it back and putted it back. Like, it is a pretty crazy hole. It is a lot of fun to watch. It wasn't fun when he had non-DFS and watch him just lose his stuff and quit, but it is pretty cool. All right, let's dive a little more deeper into the details of this course. Not like the last where, it was a pretty rude awakening when you jumped on Bay Hill at 1 and 2. You got a little more ease yourself into it here. You've got 6 scoring opportunities and 6, if you want to call them, bogey opportunities. So it's pretty equal on that side. 3 of each on each side. Yeah. So, I mean, I would say, I don't know. I mean, there's no easier either way. I already mentioned the long par 3. So if we go through this, you've got 177, and then it's 237, 181. And then, of course, that 137 plays like 4,000 yards because, again, it's just a circle with surrounding water that you have to, stick. And depending on how firm that thing gets is really what it comes down to. If somehow they get some rain, that shot is not as tough. If that's a firm green, as it usually is, very firm. They actually like redid it, I don't know, a few years back. I think to firm it up seriously. So, anyways, I of course always verify it for you guys to make sure. And the only thing I noticed was number 12 was a lot, and I think it's going to be where they put the tees. But you can see it's a drivable par 4, which I think is awesome. I love drivable par 4s. At least have the option. But here's Staten on the official scorecard is 369. So I'm guessing they'll move the tees around. It might play less than that the whole time. It might play more. But that's the only hole that was off on yardage. So just note to self. All right, I already talked quite a bit about this, but how do guys win this? And how do I rank the stroke gain analysis? Number 1, approach is going to be weighted super heavy. I don't need distance. I don't need, off the tee crazy numbers. I just need guys hitting good drives. And that is a stroke gain category. And what does it mean? It means you hit the fairway or the first intermediate cut, and then you hit the green on your approach. And that's the guys that I want. Ball striking does show up here. It kind of, again, combines these two together, so it's kind of double dipping on it. Around the green, definitely, you need that. Putting, like I said, I think some people could argue this, but it's so hard to even know who's going to go off on their putter. We'd want good putters. Don't get me wrong. But if I had to wait, I want that probably one of the, is further down the list for me. And I'll show you again why. Sand safes, definitely 88 sand traps. The products of the pins, really everything from 75 to 150. That's the guys you want. But these show up the most, 125 to 150, almost 20%, 100 to 125, 13. And then the 75 to 100 is in my model that I'm going to be showing you guys, but it's less. I think it's like 10%, something like that. Of course, you got 4 par 5s. Here's a par 72. We got, they're they're very gettable. None of them was nuts. That's where they're going to make their scoring. That number might be wrong. I think there's actually 4 between 550 and 600, but maybe there was 1 less. Again, I already mentioned the par 3s. Need guys that can hit the good irons long on these, do score well on the long par 3s. Of course, except for number 17. The Eagles was left on. I'm not so concerned with that. It's not in the model. It's birdies, but that was left from the API information. Okay, so I always tell you and highlight, there's some things I think that I like better than other things that I do, and this is definitely one of them. I always like to look at what the past winners did. This is over the last 2 years, excluding 2020, because we only had 1 round. But you can see Justin Thomas scored. Lee Westwood had that crazy runner last time. It's not going to happen this year. DeChambeau also did very well at the API and here at the Players. Casey makes total sense, but it's, good ball strikers. Brian Herman, I would say, is probably a little bit of an anomaly, but that goes back to RBC heritage and the guys that can strategically plot themselves around. So you can get it done either or. But the one thing that I know is constant is that you have to hit the irons really well. And you can see last winter, JT almost gained 7 strokes. Same with Rory, when they won. And like I said, you're going to have an anomaly like Brian Harmon, but he went nuts with the putter. But all the rest of the guys, top 5 players, all lit it up with their irons. Pretty much the same here. DJ gained almost 10 strokes, 6.5, 4.8. Then, like I said, if you have the guys that are a little less, still gaining against the field, they also did a ton with the putter. So you could do, like I said, a little. But the one thing that shows up is that you can see JT didn't have to do that much with his putter, if you hit the irons that close. Same with Rory. You got someone here that DJ actually lost on the field with his putter. And then even off the tee, you can't be slashing all over, but on average, you don't have to be crazy OTT off the tee, as in distance plus fairways. You just need fairways. Give me 275, 280. Literally on this course, it's 7,200 yards, which I don't think one player, Brian Harmon, hits it over 280. Like all the guys now literally hit it almost 300 yards. I just need the accurate guys. So also thought it was funny. Eddie Pepperell was on here. That guy, of course, plays on the European tour quite a bit. Well, that's where he plays his majority. Showed up for like a cup of coffee, and he's been struggling even over on the DP World Tour. So be just interesting when we get to see him again. I would guess like the British Open or the Open. All right, but anyways, that kind of qualifies my thought process on the guys that I want. Of course, they need to do everything here, but if I had to wait, and what I want, the first thing would be approach, and then I need guys to hit. You can't really hit good approach shots if you're not in the fairway. So then we'll work out the rest as we go. All right, with that said, I always create a custom stat model for you guys, and I always start out with recent form. And with that said, this is, good enough that they actually have betting odds, and DFS was all out like last night, because I think they knew what the field was going to be for the players for quite a while of time. So these odds, some are correct and some are not, but just to give you an idea, I know like Billy Horschel maybe at some point was 100 to 1. I don't know where. I didn't on DraftKings, where I do all my stuff, that he was 55 to 1. I did put a bet on him, but definitely didn't get 100 to 1. Anyways, I'm looking at the last 12 rounds, no filters, and then here is my custom stat model. I told you I'm weighing approach. 25% of the 100% is going on approach, and then my good drives at 15. Ball striking I put at 5 because, like I said, it's technically putting these two together. Around the green, putting both at 5, and then of course I'm dipping again on that proximities. I wanted 5% on each of these, and then 10% on the heavy one. It was almost 30%, or sorry, 20% of the shots coming in. The longer par 3s, I put 5 on each. You gotta make hay as always on the par 5s. Gotta be good out of the sand here. There's a ton of it, and then of course we need guys to make birdies. And when I get into my mini models, when I do my picks, of course I emphasize birdies a lot more. But right now it just gives me a good spit out. And I've given you the top 15 guys for the last 3 tournaments or 12 rounds, and here they are. Funny enough, Scotty Scheffler, of course, has won 2 out of his last 3 tournaments he's played in, which is crazy. We saw it, at the Ryder Cup when he beat Rahm and just how well he did. And I think, honestly, I do feel like that gave me more confidence. I mean, if you're beating a number 1, ranked player in the world, head up. That's pretty amazing. Billy Ho's been playing good golf. Like I said, I'm a Billy Ho fan. Some people just can't stand playing him. I can see why at times, but I like him. I like his attitude. Xander, we have not seen for a while, so it's going to be really interesting. And he hasn't been playing that great, in my opinion. Daniel Berger, I got a bet on. I'll let you know right now. JT Morikawa, we already talked about. Alexander Noren, if he could putt, which he can get hot with the putter. And again, we're gonna, I think it's not a bad bet to look at Alexander Noren. I haven't put a bet on him yet. I'd be shocked if he's 130, but just a lot like some of these other guys, if his putter goes. And typically, he's not a bad putter. I shouldn't really be saying that. I always get him lumped with Russell Knox. Yeah, he's not a bad putter. He's, but it might be an interesting play. You got Joaquin Niemann, of course, who lit it up at the Genesis and then missed the cut at the Honda, which, that happens. No shocker there, I'm sure. A lot like the guys that did well at, or that were in the top 5, like I told you, that just came off the Arnold Palmer. I think there's going to be some struggle. Might not be first day, but as those days go on, it could be a struggle. We'll see. Everybody was on last week. We'll see where that, everybody's feeling this week. I mean, he did make the cut, but he struggled on the weekend. Webb Simpson has not been playing good golf. I almost put him in the Patrick Reed category or the Ricky Fowler category. I know that might be a little extreme, but to know the game of Webb that what he had compared to what I've been seeing, he's a no play for me right now. Sebastian Munoz, I always tell you guys, he missed the cut or he could top 5. I like him first round leader. Max, yeah, I don't know, decent showing, right? I mean, it wasn't amazing, but it was a decent showing. John Rahm, he's been struggling. I mean, you look at his around the green and putting numbers, and he did switch putters. I don't know if it was during or before the Arnold Palmer. But yeah, he was loved the putter he had and was lights out. And then I don't know what has went on, but it's been a struggle there. I guess he has expecting another kid on the way. So just note to self, you didn't know that. Matthew Fitzpatrick, I think he's a good fit here. Done well here in the past. It's got the kind of game that we're looking for. And then Todd Hoagie has been super elite with the irons. And of course, had his first win. Oh God, I'm going to blink now. Pebble Beach. I guess all these things merged together into one. All right, next thing I always want to look at, we looked at recent form. Let's look at history. Again, I want to look at the past 12 rounds. I still want to keep it current. Like I said, I don't need to know the guys that did great 3 years ago. It's not going to help us. I want to know the guys who, or I should say, have done well 10 years ago, 6 years. Technically, this could be 3 years of data. Because this one course, neither here or there, same model, no filters, just looking at TPC Sawgrass. And the number one guy who comes up is Keegan Bradley. Abraham Ancer makes totally sense here. Total sense here. Tommy Fleetwood, don't know about that. JT, Mats, Kokrak, he struggled at API. All the guys that we'd expect to see. I mean, you can see the names. Adam Scott, I talked about, he does very well here. I think he's a rarity. I think the last 5 years in a row, he's made the cut and had a pretty good finish. So from a one and done perspective, might be someone that I might look at. Right now, literally, I think I have Morikawa on the thought process. Best on approach. So the number one thing I think you have to do here's the guys who done it. Funny enough, Rahm, even though he hasn't been playing stellar, and this is over the past 24 rounds, want to take a little larger sample for this one. Leads it, Will Z, no shocker, Scheffler, Hovland. I was actually shocked that Morikawa, actually, and it must be, like I said, I know he did have a little struggle. He had 2 tournaments that he struggled in the fall. But yeah, that he's last out of the top 15. So that's very interesting. I think Henley is interesting. I wonder how far Luke lists. I think after he missed the cut by 5 strokes, if he's going to start to fall off to the wayside. And then one thing we always look at whenever we play a Pete Dye course, I always do this. And who does really well. And Pete Dye did 2 different models for this for you guys. This is literally just a straight up stroke gain model. It's not my model. It's just looking at stroke gain total, tee to green, ball striking, short game off the tee, approach around the green, putting, and then DK points, which just never made sense to me because I don't understand what it's calculating. But long story short, number 1, Bryson DeChambeau. You can see Harmon pops up there in Casey. Siwoo Kim always plays well at Pete Dye. So a lot of these names are like a lot that we already kind of looked at that has a good record just purely at TPC Sawgrass. And then again pops up. You got Webb Simpson. Same kind of guys. I just wanted to do this with my model to see how much it changed. And Adam Scott, I think, got pulled up. Was Scott on here? No, he was on here. Just guys moved around. Let me see. Harold Varner might be like the only ad. HV3 came way up under my model. And his best finish was at RBC. And don't forget, he just had that win on was it the Asian Tour technically? I don't think it was the DP. I think it was the Asian Tour. But yeah, neither here or there. He does have a win recently. And a win in Australia. He's never won on the PGA Tour. Also very interested in Daniel Berger. I think he could do very well here and have a bet on him. All right, and then the next thing I want to know, who putts really well in Bermuda? I do this for you guys every time, but this is actually on Tiff Eagle. Or wait, let me think about it. Yeah, so I did do just the Tiff Eagle. So this is the specific. There's like 7 courses. I did this for the Honda, so I did it for here too. So this is on specifically Tiff Eagle Bermuda greens. What does that mean? They overseeded. It just has more of a grain. Can cause, if you don't know how to read Bermuda grains, if you're going down grain or up, against the grain or with the grain, If you're going against it, of course, your ball's going to go slower. If you're going with it, it's going to go faster. And to be able to see the light greens and the dark greens, there is an art to it. And so it does make sense that there's guys that putt very well in Bermuda if you grew up with it and know it. With that said, Fitzpatrick number one, Bermuda Burns, no shocker there, had a better showing. I think he shot 1 under on Sunday, and he moved up a ton of spots. He was also, I don't know if he was one of my picks. I don't remember it. I don't think so. Maybe he was. It doesn't matter. But he was definitely in that team I was telling you about that was top 100 going into Sunday. And then it just burned out. I think it ended up like 1,000th or something like that after Gooch and Burns and everybody just stunk it up. But yeah, here you go. A lot of the guys were used to Louis, which I don't know if I trust that one. I told you guys. I think Louis is definitely not putting as good as he was. Harris English is not in this tournament, so a little interested that he's there. He will not be playing. I think Jason Day, we don't know yet. I think there's a couple that we still don't know if they're going to be in or out. Even Webb Simpson, because he withdrew, I don't even know now. It was a couple tournaments ago. I'm sure he will be, but side note. All right. Anyways, there's your best Tiff Eagle Bermuda putters over the last 24 rounds, except for Bazainhoot. He's only got 20 rounds on Tiff Eagle. Rest of these guys have all putted quite a bit on it, and it gives you a good sampling. All right, with that said, we got the comparable courses, and literally these are almost the exact same courses that I used at the Honda. So, it's no shockers. I already mentioned this is a Pete Dye course, which is Harbortown RBC. You got to do a lot of things very similar here. It's a bit of a coastal course. One of the next to Pebble Beach, one of the smallest greens out there. You have to be very accurate. You have to be very good with the irons. And it's, it does the same thing, kind of visually will mess with you at times. You got TPC Southwind and RSM. Those are all Tiff Eagle, Bermuda. Pars are going to be all kind of mixed. I think RBC is a 71. I think that's a 71. Yeah, off the top of my head, I don't remember exact pars for them, but they're all very good comparable courses. The Honda course, ton of water. Bermuda, you just saw that course. Ennisbrook Valspar, I think it's a good comparable course. And I'm leaving the 3M on there because it's got, I think, 16 holes that are coming to water. It's bent greens, but again, very similar yardage, how it kind of plays. But I believe out of these, the only one that is actually a Pete Dye, except for TPC Sawgrass, would be Harbortown. And then you've got like Whistling Straits, where the Travelers is played, is a Pete Dye. The guy that comes out number one is Daniel Berger, as I already mentioned. I've got a bet on him. I haven't put a bet on Answer. His game also has been a little depressing, but should be a great fit here. Sneaky DFS play. Webb, no thank you. Maybe he'll win this damn thing. Of course, he's won it here before. He's had good success, but I think he missed a cut last year. I just think his game is just a little broke right now. Burnsy's getting a little bit back. Lowry almost won at the Honda. Probably should have won the Honda. Keegan, whatever. HV3, JT, Matz, Morikawa, Connors. I mean, all the guys that I'd be interested in rostering from a DFS perspective. And like I said, from a betting perspective, we'll talk more about the bets here in about 1 second. Oh, and by the way, so what is that, 12 rounds? I gave you 24 rounds too. Some people ask, it's a little hard. How do you compare? But you got to remember, like, I want to keep it recent. And so maybe they played once at RBC, once at the Honda. Like, I don't need, like, you played all these courses at least once into the model. Because, again, it could pull literally from 2010. Like, that's worthless data. So I'm giving you guys also a larger look at it. So this would have been 6 tournaments, 24 rounds of golf. And it pretty much comes up almost identical. Webb Simpson moved around. Corey Connors came up. I don't know if anybody, maybe Gooch came up onto the board. That would be different. Yeah, not a significant difference, but gives you, again, a visual. Yeah, very interested in Berger. It is a perfect fit. And he's been playing great golf. And again, what led at the Honda the first three rounds and then just fell apart on Sunday. Okay, with that said, typically when I do the betting show, right, I give you guys a lot of the higher odd bets. I'm not going to do that today. I mean, you're going to get, some higher, but I'm talking about, I already told you Morikawa, Berger, like, this is a tournament that you make the bets on the guys that really, should win. I don't see a super long shot winning this thing. Could it happen? Of course, it's golf. This tournament, though, typically flushes out the best of the best, and typically the best iron players. Mentioned that already. Going to keep talking about it. All right. So I already told you I had Morikawa, but I didn't put him on here because I want to, like, he's 16-1. Like, that does not get me excited. Daniel Berger, 28-1. I mean, hey, depending on what you're putting down on it, it gets you a little excited. So from a low odds perspective, would I say low odds? I mean, just not a super payday, but 28 to 1, I like that a lot. On a side note, Brooks Koepka was 50 to 1 last night. I think I even saw came out. He's down to like 35 now. It was 40. I thought about it at 50 to 1. I looked right at it. I'm just gonna wait for a major if with Brooks. I don't know. I'm just not feeling it. So I'd rather 50 to 1. What Wilsey is the perfect fit for this course. I mean, he is a ball striking ninja, and hopefully he works on the putter a little bit. And these greens are not as crispy, crusty. But yeah, again, it's shown over and over that guys can win here without being great putting if you are super elite with your irons, which he is super elite with his irons. So 50 to 1. Billy Ho has been playing great golf, great irons. Again, had a chance to win. Showed up at the Honda, right? And then also, of course, just this past weekend, I was just trying to remember, it was the Honda. He also showed up. I think it was the ball striking extravaganza. Just couldn't putt. This time he did all and just missed it by a little. Of course, I said local, loves his course. I don't know what his track record here is, to be honest. I haven't looked that deep, but I don't need to. I know the guys that I want. Siwoo Kim, the short of it is, it's a Pete Dye course. You'll see his record on Pete Dye courses is the craziest stuff. Also, where they play the Amex is a Pete Dye track. So he's won both. So, yep, 80 to 1 on that. And then Chris Kirk, I already mentioned, likes his course, has a pretty good and also great recent form. And if he plays like what we just saw and has been playing, 100 to 1, I'll take that. That's about as crazy I'm getting with a Chris Kirk out there. I'll be curious if that number stays, to be honest. Again, a lot of these I made last night, so I'm not sure. There's all on DraftKings. But of course, if you do like to shop prices, go to Odds Checker and see what's getting you the best rate right now. All right, so typically I give you guys my super long shot, and I don't think this is a super long shot. It's a long shot, but it's not like 500 to 1. Like I said, I think that's a big waste of time here. The longest shot I'm going is I'm going to go with a guy, 180 to 1. So that's still awesome if you hit that, right? You put $10 on it, it's $1,800. He's 12 to 1 for a top 10. So, I'm not as excited, but I always put that on there. If you're like, I can see this guy maybe top 10. And I can see that. I mean, there's a reason why he's a long shot. All right, give you a little background information on this guy. You're going to notice right off the bat, this is a little older, right? 2016, but this is a Pete Dye course of Travelers. RBC Heritage is a Pete Dye. So he's got a win and a runner-up. He's got 2 wins in his career. He's also done very well at the Honda. Again, this is a while ago, a couple times. And his last best finish was a 7th at the AT&T Pro-Am. Again, Pebble Beach, small greens, kind of, I'm not saying it's a great comparable course, but there's some comparables to it. This is his recent form. So this is his last, 7 tournaments. He's missed the cut once at the Amex, which technically is a Pete Dye course, but had a 7th at the Sony. RSM, I think, is a good comparable course. You got the Tiff Eagle, you got the water, it's a shorter track, but pretty similar. I think it's around 72, 7,100 yards. But anyways, yeah, a couple 33, 33. So could definitely want to bet him top 40. And here's his player's background. Best was ever as a 17th and a 19th. Missed the cut in 17 and 18 and made the cut last year. Of course, 2020. You know what? I think he was 4 under after round 1. I'm going to go look that up. It doesn't matter. It was 1 round, but I am interested to see where he was. And who is this guy? Of course, it's Mr. Russell Knox. I told you about, I think, for whatever reason, him and Noren, to me, just kind of, I don't think they look alike. They don't really swing alike. Just for some odd reason, those two always lump together with me. So anyways, that is my long shot for you. 180 to 1 on DraftKings if you can get it. It's up to you. Like I said, I put a small bet on it. I'm not going nutty with the long shots here. I think it's kind of a waste of time and money. Maybe I'll live bet some stuff. But, I'm just going with the guys that I think could really win this tournament and putting heavier money on them. All right. With that said, that is my show. I want to thank you so much for spending some time with me, especially if you're new. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and tell me who you think is going to win this players. There's Billy Ho teeing off with the flying divot. Oh, and by the way, let me know what you think of the new intro. Getting a little more professional, getting some things done, trying to get this show a little better and better as I always do. And last but not least, if you like what I do, click that like button. And if you've not followed me on Twitter yet, it's a must follow. Just kidding. But I do put out stuff and little anecdotes here or there, but mostly if any withdrawals or any news that I see that you guys should see, I will tweet it out. With that said, tomorrow on my pick show, and I'll talk to you guys then. Have a great evening.